Under standard medical paradigms, clinical death is absolute. When the heart stops and the electroencephalogram, a test measuring electrical activity in the brain, flatlines, medical orthodoxy assumes that subjective experience has ceased forever. This view stems from classical materialism, which defines the brain as a biological computer. Subjective experience is categorized as an emergent property of neurochemistry, meaning the mind should vanish the moment the biological hardware fails. However, the AWARE-2 study disrupted this timeline. By monitoring in-hospital cardiac arrests, researchers documented organized, high-level electrical activity in human brains that had been deprived of oxygen for up to an hour. This chart shows a standard ischemic flatline suddenly giving way to rhythmic spikes in the gamma and theta frequency bands. In healthy brains, these specific frequencies serve as the biological markers for memory retrieval and the binding of conscious experience. These electrocortical readings represent a clinical paradox. They are not the chaotic spasms of dying tissue, but signatures of intense lucidity, appearing precisely when the biological brain is effectively disabled by oxygen deprivation. The presence of highly organized cognitive activity during profound ischemia suggests the brain functions as a filter or a receiver for the mind, rather than its primary generator. Evidence for this receiver mechanism also appears in cases of chronic neurodegenerative disease, specifically through the documented medical phenomenon of terminal lucidity. Advanced Alzheimer's disease causes catastrophic physical destruction. Amyloid plaques, toxic protein buildups, physically sever neural pathways, causing large volumes of cortical tissue to permanently atrophy. Despite this physical decay, patients with heavily destroyed brains often regain full clarity hours before death. These individuals can suddenly speak coherently, recognize family members, and access detailed memories that were thought to be lost forever. The disinhibition theory suggests that as the biological host nears death, the brain's natural inhibitory systems fail. This failure allows the underlying conscious structure to bypass the damaged neural networks. The sudden return of a lucid personality suggests the cognitive self remains intact even as its biological interface degrades. Identifying the source of this signal requires us to look deeper than classical synaptic firing, down into the microscopic architecture inside ourselves. In the 1990s, theoretical physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Dr. Stuart Hameroff developed the Orchestrated Objective Reduction Theory, or ORC-OR. Their framework proposes that consciousness originates at the quantum level. This diagram highlights a microtubule, a cylindrical polymer that provides structural support within our neurons. According to ORC-OR, these microtubules function as quantum computers, moving beyond the role of simple biological wiring. Within the microtubule lattice, individual tubulin proteins can exist in a state of quantum superposition. These vibrating states entangle across wide networks of the brain, creating unified moments of conscious awareness. While critics once argued the brain was too warm and wet for delicate quantum states, modern biology has identified structures like Posner molecules. These molecules act as geometric shields, protecting quantum information from environmental heat and chaos. This framework implies that biological evolution merely refined the microtubule net quantum geometric events that already exist in the fabric of the universe. Tying the mind to quantum mechanics subjects consciousness to the absolute laws of physics. Specifically, the no-hiding theorem states that quantum information can never be perfectly duplicated, perfectly erased, or destroyed. At the moment of biological death, the macroscopic quantum coherence within the brain's microtubules breaks down as the physical host fails. According to the no-hiding theorem, the quantum data defining an identity simply untethers from the biology, dispersing into the environment while maintaining structural integrity. Information theory frames biological death as a redistribution of intact conscious data into the environment, rather than an erasure of the self. If consciousness survives as dispersed quantum information, the mind likely generates the construct of physical reality itself. Cognitive neuroscientist Donald Hoffman describes our 3D physical world as a species-specific user interface. Like a VR headset, our perception of space and time is designed to hide the overwhelming complexity of base reality to ensure our biological survival. The holographic principle suggests the brain functions as a dimensional compressor. It filters an infinite, non-local conscious structure into the narrow, linear timeline we experience every day. When this biological compressor fails at the threshold of death, the localized conscious structure re-expands into its original multidimensional state. Biological death represents a phase transition of integrated information, a shift that places consciousness as an